Yeah, and I mean, these are big issues that he's got to deal with as the country commemorates 30 years of democracy. Many challenges are still facing the country. In fact, in some of the provinces, like the Eastern Cape, a lot of poverty. Well, the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane will lead festivities in Bhisho today. But his province remains one of the poorest and most underdeveloped in the country. That's 30 years into this democracy. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema joins us now live from there with those details. What are we expecting to hear from the Premier today as he speaks to a province that faces many challenges 30 years into this democracy?
Well, that is true, Naledi. I mean, we had mentioned earlier on some of those challenges and issues facing the Eastern Cape government. And of course, some of the issues that we are expecting the Premier to actually address in his statement, or his address rather. But I think first, let me give you, just a preview of what we're expecting here today and how the program is looking like. And also, why am I at Good News Church? So this church is here in Bhisho, and it is going to be the central point where we're going to see some members of the public as well as members of the Eastern Cape government. They will be taking a walk, sort of a fun walk, celebrating 30 years of democracy from here all the way to Bhisho Stadium. And that's where we're expecting the proceedings to begin. Now, just to quickly, run through the program and what we're expecting. Right now, they are in a meeting as the Eastern Cape government together. It's a briefing session regarding just ahead of the proceedings. Also, we're looking at, from there on, they will be escorted. That's a 10 to 10. They will be escorted, where then we'll be looking at phase 3 of this program, where they will open the program. And then we are expecting some speakers like the executive mayor of the Buffalo City Metro. We're also expecting, Deputy Speaker of the Legislature, also to make his address as well. And of course, the Premier of the Eastern Cape himself. But let me also just speak to the MEC of Sports, Arts and Recreational, MEC Kontsiwe here. Of course, today is your department's day, celebrating 30 years of freedom and democracy in South Africa and the Eastern Cape. Let's start with, what does that look like for the Eastern Cape government? 30 years of freedom and democracy for the Eastern Cape government.
Let me say the significance of this day, this Freedom Day today, is so much that we are celebrating 30 years of democracy in the country. Secondly, as we are all aware that on the 29th of May, there's going to be national and provincial elections, which is the end of the 6th administration term. And as we usher in the 7th administration, so we are celebrating this Freedom Day on that note that it is the end of the 6th term of administration, ushering into the 7th term, and also celebrating the 30 years of freedom. There's elections. So other Freedom Days never had elections in them, others that have passed because we are doing it annually. So that is much of the significance. We are also tracing the work that has been done by government in the province. We are proud to say a number of achievements have been made in terms of service delivery. Yes, we acknowledge that there are some challenges. Some of the targets we have not met because of a number of issues, different issues. But we are proud to say yesterday is not the same as today for the people of this province. There are so many achievements that have been projects or have been achieved. So we are proud to say we really need to celebrate. Policies have changed since the apartheid government. They are all for equal. People are treated the same way. So the non-racialism, the equality has been at least something that is on policies of this government.
Yes. Now, MEC, looking back, just quickly, we're looking back at some of those challenges that you're mentioning currently. Would you say that, looking at what the government has done or has maybe failed its citizens, going into the 7th administration, as you have said, what do you think could be made better, or maybe what is the government looking to better?
What I believe in, rather than using the word failed, I would rather use the area of improvement, because we have heard people saying, as you are building roads somewhere in the province, busy building, but there are areas that you haven't reached. So the 7th administration will then focus on the areas that we feel that are still gaps, where people want housing, but there are no houses, where people are struggling with water. The government is going to focus more on those areas of improvement and check, because indeed, if you look at the budget, you can't reach everywhere where you would want to. But we can assure communities and people of this province and the country that we are going to arrive even to those that think that we haven't done anything for them.
All right, so thank you so much, MEC. That's MEC Nonceba Kontsiwe from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture and Recreation. Of course, the celebrations today are done by her department as well. We heard what she said, talking about the transition moving from the 6th administration to the 7th administration of government and what exactly government needs to do. Now, Naledi, of course, when we come back at 10 o'clock, we're going to show you some of those in issues where we can address, such as inequality and the standard of living and the conditions that some citizens in the Eastern Cape are living under, just to highlight some of the issues that are happening here in the Eastern Cape and some areas where people consider themselves the forgotten people.
Sipha, let me ask you this. You know, we celebrate 30 years of democracy today, and as these celebrations take place in the Eastern Cape and in other parts of the country, what is the turnout looking like? Essentially, I'm really trying to see if South Africans are in, the space of celebrating this 30 years as well.
Well, for now, it is too early to say, because where we are, it's not where the program will be held. But when we were at the program, where the venue for the program at the stadium, we had seen, of course, they were just only starting to set up. We had seen just a few people gathered who were going to be part of this walk to the Bhisho Stadium. But currently where we are, this is not the venue, but rather the starting point for the walk, and also where the Eastern Cape government officials are receiving a briefing session ahead of today's program. But when we come back at 10 o'clock, we'll be able to tell you about the numbers and looking if South Africans, or rather people from the Eastern Cape here around Bhisho and other parts, have actually showed up in their numbers. Are they in a celebratory mood? Because we know that this province is one of those provinces that is always coming under scrutiny for issues, for corruption and lack of service delivery.